The great hall of the Bright Star Council glowed with soft blue light, reflecting off the crystalline walls that had stood for thousands of years. Elder Dawn stood before the gathered council members, her translucent skin shimmering with anxiety, as she played the distress signal again. "Help, please. Atmospheric shields failing." The broken message echoed through the chamber, sending ripples of concern through the assembled Bright Stars. Their mining colony on Moon 6, nearly 30 light-years from their homeworld, was in danger. The Bright Stars had evolved on a gentle world, where the strongest winds felt like soft whispers, and the temperature barely changed between seasons. Their bodies were beautiful but fragile, tall, graceful forms with nearly transparent skin that could photosynthesize the weak rays of their red dwarf sun. They were peaceful, intelligent, and utterly unsuited for the harsh conditions their colonists now faced. "We must send help," Elder Dawn said, her voice trembling like wind chimes. Her fellow council members shifted uncomfortably in their crystalline seats. Elder Spark, the head of their security division, spoke up. "The conditions on Moon 6 are deteriorating. The atmospheric pressure alone would crush any rescue team we send. We evolved in a paradise. We cannot survive in such a hell." The debate continued as it had for 3 days. The Bright Stars were trapped between their desire to help and their physical limitations. Their species had achieved spaceflight through careful engineering and advanced technology, but their bodies remained adapted only for their gentle homeworld. Then the chamber's warning systems activated. "Unknown vessel detected entering our space," announced the automated system. The great display crystal at the center of the hall lit up, showing a ship of unfamiliar design. It was ugly by Bright Star standards, all sharp angles and reinforced plates, built to withstand conditions that would tear their own elegant ships apart. "Life signs detected," reported Elder Spark, his skin paling to nearly white. "The readings, they're impossible. The beings on that ship, their body density is incredible. They're from a high-gravity world." The council chamber erupted in fearful whispers. Everyone knew about such beings. Deathworlders, they were called. Species that evolved on planets that should be too hostile for intelligent life. Worlds with crushing gravity, extreme temperatures, and deadly levels of radiation. The unknown ship transmitted a message. The universal translator processed it, and a deep voice filled the chamber. "Bright Star Station, this is Captain Jack of the Earth vessel, the Stalwart. We're picking up a distress signal from this sector. Do you require assistance?" Earth. The word sent shudders through the council. They had heard of this world. A planet of swirling storms, vast oceans, and predators that actively hunted their prey. Its gravity was nearly twice what the Bright Stars knew, and its temperatures swung wildly between extremes that would kill their species instantly. "They're predators," whispered Elder Spark. "Look at their dental pattern scans, designed for tearing flesh, and their muscle density. They must be incredibly strong." Elder Dawn studied the readings. Yes, these humans were terrifying by Bright Star standards. Their bones were dense as stone, their muscles like steel cables, and their skin thick enough to resist radiation that would kill a Bright Star in minutes. They had evolved as pursuit predators, able to chase prey until it collapsed from exhaustion. Their immune systems were aggressive enough to fight off diseases that would devastate other species. But in those same readings, Elder Dawn saw something else. The humans' neural patterns showed complex emotional centers. Their ship's database revealed a history of exploration and scientific achievement. And most importantly, they had come in response to a distress signal. The council chamber fell silent as Elder Dawn moved toward the communications crystal. Her hand trembled as she reached for it, but her voice was steady. "Earth vessel Stalwart," she said, "I am Elder Dawn of the Bright Star Council. We do need help. But before we proceed, you should know the conditions you would face. The colony is on a volcanic moon with toxic atmosphere and—" Captain Jack's voice interrupted, calm and professional. "With respect, Elder, we're well equipped to handle extreme conditions. That's why we're out here. Just point us in the right direction, and we'll help however we can." Elder Dawn looked at her fellow council members, seeing their fear slowly give way to desperate hope. Sometimes, she thought, salvation comes in forms we least expect, even in the shape of Deathworlders. The landing bay of the Bright Star Station felt uncomfortably warm to Captain Jack and his crew as they stepped out of their ship. What the Bright Stars considered a comfortable temperature was like a mild spring day on Earth. The air was thin, barely enough to breathe by human standards, but the crew had faced worse conditions. "Welcome to Bright Star Station," Elder Dawn said, keeping a safe distance from the humans. Her crystalline skin caught the light, creating rainbow patterns on the floor. "We appreciate your offer of help." Captain Jack smiled, trying to appear less threatening. He was a tall man with broad shoulders, and he could see how his very presence made the Bright Stars nervous. Their fragile bodies would probably break if he shook hands with them, so he simply nodded respectfully. "Tell us more about your mining colony," he said. "What exactly are we dealing with?" The Bright Stars led them to their control room, a beautiful chamber with walls that seemed to be made of living crystal. Elder Dawn activated a holographic display showing a dark, volcanic moon. "Moon 6, she explained, her voice trembling. "We established the colony 3 years ago to mine rare minerals. Everything was fine until last week." The display zoomed in to show a massive facility built into the moon's surface. The atmospheric shields started failing. "The air is becoming toxic. Pressure systems are breaking down. And the seismic activity." "How many colonists?" asked Tom, the rescue specialist of Jack's crew. He was studying the readings with professional interest, already planning their approach. 237, Elder Spark answered. "They've entered hibernation pods to survive, but the pods will only last another week at most." The humans exchanged glances. The conditions on Moon 6 would be challenging even for them. Crushing atmospheric pressure, toxic gases, and constant earthquakes. But nothing they couldn't handle with their environmental suits and natural resilience. "What about your rescue ships?" asked Lisa, the team's engineer. "Surely you have emergency protocols." Elder Dawn's skin paled even further. "We tried. 2 rescue ships attempted to land. The conditions, they were torn apart. We lost 12 good people. Our bodies simply cannot withstand such extremes." Captain Jack walked closer to the hologram, studying the terrain. The Bright Stars instinctively moved back, their fear of his predatory nature still evident. He pretended not to notice. "The atmosphere there is 3 times denser than Earth's," he said, "and the gravity is about 1.5 Earth standard. Toxic, but nothing our suits can't handle. The real challenge will be the seismic activity." You truly believe you can survive there?" Elder Spark asked, his disbelief clear in his voice. "Survive?" Tom actually chuckled. "Sir, I've worked in conditions twice as bad in the mines of Europa. This is Tuesday for us." The humans gathered around the display, discussing technical details and forming plans. The Bright Stars watched in amazement as these Deathworlders casually talked about conditions that would kill most species in minutes. "There's something else you should know," Elder Dawn said quietly. "Our scanners detected unusual energy readings before the shields began failing. We fear this might not be an accident." Captain Jack turned to face her, his expression serious. "Sabotage." "We have no proof," Elder Spark cut in quickly. "But there are other species who wanted access to the moon's minerals. Species who thought we were too weak to defend such valuable resources." The humans shared another look, this one harder, more predatory. The Bright Stars felt a shiver of instinctive fear at seeing these Deathworlders' hunter instincts emerge. "Well," Captain Jack said, his voice calm but carrying an edge of steel, "then we'll need to work fast. Tom, prep the rescue gear. Lisa, I want a full analysis of those energy readings. Rest of the crew, suit up. We leave in 2 hours." As the humans moved with swift efficiency, Elder Dawn watched them with a mixture of fear and hope. These beings, evolved on a world that would kill her kind in minutes, moved with such confidence, such purpose. "Captain," she called out softly, "why are you helping us? We have nothing to offer in return." Jack paused and turned back. His smile was gentle, contrasting with his powerful frame. "Elder Dawn, where we come from, when someone calls for help, you help. It's that simple." The elder's skin shimmered with emotion. Perhaps, she thought, there was more to these Deathworlders than their fearsome reputation suggested. The descent to Moon 6 was like flying into hell. Red lightning crackled through clouds of toxic gas, and the ground below glowed with rivers of molten rock. The human rescue shuttle shook violently as it pushed through the dense atmosphere. "This is why I love my job," Tom said from the pilot's seat, grinning as he guided the shuttle through another violent tremor. The rest of the rescue team, 4 humans in heavy environmental suits, checked their equipment one final time. Their suits were built for extreme conditions, but even they had limits. The external temperature readings were nearly hot enough to melt steel, and the atmospheric pressure was still climbing. Approaching the colony, Lisa reported, her eyes on the sensors. "Main entrance is blocked by debris. We'll have to use the emergency airlock on level 3. Captain Jack nodded, his face visible through his helmet's clear faceplate. "Remember, folks, we've got 237 colonists in hibernation pods down there. Every minute counts." The shuttle landed with a hard thud that would have crushed a Bright Star vessel. The humans activated their magnetic boots, the only way to walk in the violent winds that swept across the moon's surface. "Pressure readings are even worse than we thought," Lisa said as they stepped onto the surface. No wonder the Bright Star ships were torn apart. Their hulls weren't built for this. The team moved quickly across the rocky ground, their boots clanking against the metal walkway that led to the airlock. The facility was massive, built into the side of a mountain, but now it looked like a wounded animal. Parts of its outer shell were cracked, and emergency force fields flickered weakly, trying to hold back the toxic atmosphere. Inside the airlock, they waited as the chamber cycled through its decontamination sequence. The inner door opened to reveal dark corridors lit only by emergency lighting. "Life support is at 12%, Tom reported, checking his scanner. "Air's mostly toxic gas. Good thing we brought our own." They moved through the facility like ghosts, their helmet lights cutting through the darkness. The walls were made of the same crystal-like material as the Bright Star station, but here they were cracked and dulled. "Found them," Lisa called out after 10 minutes of searching. "Hibernation chamber, level 5. 237 pods, just like they said." The chamber was huge, filled with rows of crystal pods. Each one held a sleeping Bright Star, their transparent skin glowing faintly in the dark. The pods were designed to keep them alive in emergencies, but they were never meant to last this long. "Power systems are failing," Lisa said, checking the control panel. "These pods have maybe 8 hours left, not a week like they thought." Captain Jack's voice was firm. "Then we work faster. Tom, start prepping the pods for transport. Lisa, see if you can stabilize the power grid. Mike and I will check the facility's core systems." As they worked, the ground shook constantly. Pieces of ceiling fell around them, but their sturdy Earth-evolved bodies and reinforced suits kept them safe. What would have killed a Bright Star was merely an inconvenience to them. The team worked tirelessly, their bodies adapted to handle far worse conditions than this. When a particularly violent tremor caused a support beam to fall, Mike caught it with one hand, his Earth-born muscles easily handling what would have crushed a Bright Star. "Captain," Lisa called over the radio after an hour of work, "I found something strange in the power grid. These failures, they're not random. Someone programmed them to happen." Jack stopped what he was doing. "You mean?" "Yes, this was definitely sabotage, and whoever did it knew exactly how to make it look like a natural disaster." Before Jack could respond, a new alarm started blaring. The facility's sensors had detected multiple ships entering orbit around the moon. Unknown vessels approaching, Tom reported. Their design matches. Wait, Captain, they're showing up as rescue ships. But something's not right. Their energy signatures are all wrong. Jack's expression hardened behind his faceplate. The humans had walked into something much bigger than a simple rescue mission. But that didn't change anything. They had colonists to save, and now they had a mystery to solve. Keep working, he ordered. We're getting these people out of here. And then we're going to find out who did this to them. The humans continued their work, their Deathworld-evolved bodies allowing them to push through exhaustion and danger. They had no way of knowing that their actions were about to uncover a plot that would change the balance of power in this sector of space forever. The approaching ships were still 20 minutes away when Lisa made her discovery. She was deep in the facility's maintenance tunnels, her helmet's lights revealing walls covered in a strange dark substance. "Captain," she called over the radio, "you need to see this. And bring Tom. He's the biology expert." The rest of the team arrived quickly, their heavy boots echoing in the narrow tunnel. Tom knelt beside the wall, his scanner whirring as it analyzed the dark coating. "It's a bioweapon," he said after a moment, his voice grim. "But unlike anything I've seen before, it's designed to eat through crystalline structures. Like bright star ships," Captain Jack said. "And bright star buildings. And bright star bodies," Lisa added quietly. "Their entire species is silicon-based, with crystalline cellular structures." The humans looked at each other through their faceplates. On Earth, they had evolved alongside countless deadly bacteria and viruses. Their immune systems were incredibly strong, able to fight off diseases that would devastate other species. This bioweapon wouldn't harm them, but to the bright stars, it was a death sentence. A new tremor shook the facility, stronger than before. "Those aren't natural quakes," Mike said, checking his geological scanner. "Someone's using focused energy beams to destabilize the moon's crust." "The Shadowkin," Jack said suddenly. Everyone turned to look at him. Elder Dawn mentioned them, a species that wanted the moon's minerals. They must have planned this whole thing. Tom's scanner beeped again. "Captain, I'm picking up more of this bioweapon. It's everywhere. In the air filtration system, the water recyclers, even the hibernation pod chambers. The only reason it hasn't killed everyone is because they're in suspended animation. And now the Shadowkin are coming to finish the job," Lisa said. "They'll pose as rescuers, take the colonists aboard their ships. Where the bioweapon will kill them all," Jack finished, making it look like they died from exposure to the harsh conditions. No one would suspect murder. Another alarm blared through the facility. The approaching ships were now close enough for detailed scans. Their hulls were covered in weapons, carefully hidden behind false rescue equipment. "We need to move faster," Jack ordered. "Lisa, can you purge the bioweapon from the air systems?" She nodded. "The facility's decontamination protocols should work, but it'll take time." "Time we don't have," Mike said, pointing to his display. "Those ships will be here in 15 minutes. Jack thought quickly. Humans were natural tactical thinkers. Their brains evolved to plan complex hunting strategies. Now those same instincts might save hundreds of lives. "New plan," he said. "Tom, keep prepping the pods for transport. Mike, help Lisa with the decontamination. I'm going to call our ship." "What are you thinking, Captain?" Lisa asked. Jack's smile was predatory. "The Shadowkin don't know we're here. They expect to find helpless bright stars. Instead, they're going to meet humans who are very, very angry about their murder attempt." He switched to the ship's channel. "Stalwart, this is Jack. Remember those new shield modifications we were testing? Time to put them to use. And get the weapon systems online. We're about to have company." The team split up, each moving with purpose. The human strength and endurance let them work at incredible speed. Their Earth-evolved bodies, designed to handle extreme stress, showed no signs of fatigue despite hours of heavy labor in hostile conditions. 5 minutes until those ships arrive, Tom reported as he secured another row of hibernation pods. Decontamination at 60%, Lisa called out. The bioweapon is breaking down. Good, Jack said, checking his own suit's weapons. Because we're about to teach these Shadowkin why you don't mess with people under human protection. Above them, the Shadowkin ships entered the moon's atmosphere, their crews confident in their perfect plan. They had no idea they were about to face creatures from a death world, creatures who had evolved to be nature's perfect survivors, and who had decided to use those survival skills to protect others. The Stalwart's engines roared to life in the toxic atmosphere of Moon 6. The human ship, built to withstand the crushing pressures of Earth's deepest oceans, had no trouble handling the harsh conditions that had destroyed the Bright Star rescue vessels. Inside the mining facility, Captain Jack's team worked with the speed and precision that came from evolving on a high-gravity world. Their muscles, dense and powerful, allowed them to move hibernation pods that would normally require mechanical assistance. Decontamination complete, Lisa announced, her fingers flying over the control panel. Air systems are clean. The bioweapon is gone. Just in time, Tom said, checking his scanner. 3 Shadowkin ships entering low orbit. They're charging weapons. Jack activated his radio, connecting to Elder Dawn back at the Bright Star station. Elder, we have proof of Shadowkin sabotage. They planted bioweapons and deliberately damaged the facility. They're here now, pretending to be rescuers. The Elder's voice came back, shaking with anger and fear. This is an act of war, but we cannot fight them. Our ships. No, Jack interrupted firmly. Your ships stay put. Let us handle this. The humans had spent their entire evolution as pursuit predators, developing not just physical strength, but also complex tactical thinking. Now those instincts came into play as Jack outlined his plan. Lisa, hack their communication systems. Mike, get those shield generators back online. Tom, help me with the surprise we left in the upper atmosphere. The Shadowkin ships descended through the toxic clouds, their captains confident in their superior technology. They expected to find a crippled facility and helpless victims. Instead, their sensors suddenly went dark. EMP mines deployed, Tom reported with a grin. The humans had scattered electromagnetic pulse devices in the upper atmosphere while preparing for the rescue. They're flying blind. The Shadowkin ships slowed, confused by the loss of their sensors. They didn't notice the Stalwart rising behind them until it was too late. This is Captain Jack of the Earth vessel Stalwart. His voice boomed across all channels. We have evidence of your sabotage. Withdraw immediately or face the consequences. A Shadowkin commander's voice came back, trying to sound innocent. We are here to help our Bright Star friends. You have no authority. Wrong answer, Jack said. He nodded to Lisa, who pressed a button on her console. Suddenly, all the Shadowkin's secret communications became public. Their plans, their use of bioweapons. Everything was broadcast across all frequencies for the entire sector to hear. The Shadowkin ships tried to turn and fight, but they had never faced humans before. They didn't understand what it meant to battle creatures who had evolved on a world where everything was trying to kill them. The Stalwart moved with incredible speed for its size, its Earth-built engines pushing it through maneuvers that should have torn it apart. Its weapons, designed to work in Earth's thick atmosphere, had no trouble penetrating the toxic clouds of Moon 6. Warning shot across their bow. Jack ordered. The Stalwart's main gun fired, the blast lighting up the dark sky. Inside the facility, Mike looked up from his work. Shield generators at full power. The facility is secure. All hibernation pods are prepped for transport, Tom added. We can move the colonists whenever you give the word. The Shadowkin ships hung in the air, their captains facing a choice they never expected. Their perfect plan had been ruined by creatures they hadn't even known existed, Deathworlders who treated their worst environment as a mild inconvenience. Final warning, Jack's voice came again. Leave now, or find out exactly what happens when you anger a species that evolved as apex predators. For a moment, there was silence. Then, one by one, The Shadowkin ships began to turn away. They had come expecting easy prey. Instead, they had found humans, and learned why the term Deathworlder was more than just a description. It was a warning. The Shadowkin ships didn't retreat for long. They returned an hour later with reinforcements, 5 more heavily armed vessels emerging from the toxic clouds of Moon 6. "They're not giving up that easily," Lisa said, watching the sensor display inside the mining facility. "Not with this much mineral wealth at stake." Captain Jack nodded, his expression grim behind his helmet's faceplate. "They think numbers will make a difference. They still don't understand what they're dealing with." The humans had spent the past hour preparing. The mining facility's defenses were back online, and half of the hibernation pods had been moved to secure lower levels. But the Shadowkin had brought enough firepower to level the entire moon. "They're broadcasting," Tom reported from his console. The Shadowkin commander's voice filled the facility's communication system. "Deathworlders," the voice said, trying to sound threatening but unable to hide a note of uncertainty. "This is not your fight. Leave now, and we will spare you." Jack's laugh was cold. "Wrong message. This became our fight the moment you tried to murder innocent people." The first shots came moments later. The Shadowkin ships opened fire with everything they had, expecting their combined firepower to overwhelm any defense. They didn't expect what happened next. The humans had modified the facility's shield generators using Earth technology. The same adaptations that let them survive on their deadly homeworld had taught them how to build defenses that could withstand almost anything. "Shields holding at 80%, Mike reported calmly. On his world, storms that could level cities were a normal occurrence. This was nothing in comparison. The Stalwart rose from its hiding place behind a ridge of volcanic rock, its weapons already firing. The human ship moved like a predator, using maneuvers that the Shadowkin's targeting computers couldn't predict. "Their bioweapons won't work on us," Lisa reminded everyone as she monitored the air filters. The Shadowkin were desperately trying to deploy more of their crystalline eating bacteria, but the humans' immune systems, evolved to fight off Earth's deadliest diseases, simply ignored it. Inside the facility, Jack's team continued their work even as the battle raged outside. Their bodies, built to handle Earth's higher gravity, allowed them to carry heavy equipment and move quickly despite the intense conditions. "That's the last group of pods secured," Tom announced. "All colonists are safe in the lower levels." A massive explosion rocked the facility. One of the Shadowkin ships had crashed into the upper levels, its hull torn apart by the Stalwart's weapons. "They're getting desperate," Jack observed. He activated his radio again. "Stalwart, initiate attack pattern Delta." The human ship responded immediately, executing a series of maneuvers that should have been impossible in the dense atmosphere. The Shadowkin ships tried to follow, their engines straining against the harsh conditions that the Earth-built vessel handled with ease. 3 enemy ships disabled, Lisa reported, watching the battle through the facility's sensors. "They're not used to fighting in these conditions. We are." She was right. The Shadowkin had always relied on their superior technology and bioweapons. But here, in an environment that would kill most species, the humans' natural adaptations proved more valuable than any technology. The battle reached its peak when 2 Shadowkin ships attempted to land forces directly on the facility. They didn't know that humans had evolved as persistence hunters, capable of fighting far longer than most species. "Let them come," Jack said, checking his suit's weapons. His team nodded, their Earth-born bodies ready for combat. Where they came from, children played in conditions harsher than this. The Shadowkin troops that breached the facility's upper levels found themselves facing opponents unlike any they had fought before. The humans moved with predatory grace, their enhanced muscles and denser bones making them nearly unstoppable in close combat. "Remember," Jack told his team as they engaged the enemy, "we're not just fighting for ourselves. We're fighting for everyone in those hibernation pods. We're fighting for the right of peaceful species to exist without fear." The Shadowkin forces quickly learned what it meant to face creatures from a death world. In the end, it wasn't even close. 3 days after the battle, the Great Hall of the Bright Star Council looked very different. Where once the crystalline chamber had held only the delicate forms of the bright stars, now 4 humans stood before the assembled council, their powerful frames drawing both nervous and admiring looks. Elder Dawn rose from her seat, her transparent skin glowing with emotion. "How can we ever repay you?" she asked, her voice carrying through the chamber. "You saved not just our colonists, but our entire society. The Shadowkin would have used our weakness to slowly destroy us." Captain Jack stood easily, his earthborn frame relaxed even under the lighter gravity. "No payment is necessary, Elder. We did what any human would do." The council chamber was filled with recovered colonists and their families. All 237 had survived, thanks to the humans' incredible endurance and strength. The Bright Stars had watched in amazement as these Deathworlders worked tirelessly in conditions that would have killed any of their own species. Still, Elder Spark spoke up, his earlier fear of the humans now replaced with respect. "We must do something. The Shadowkin's treachery is now known to all nearby systems, thanks to your broadcast of their plans. They will never again dare to threaten a peaceful species." Lisa, the team's engineer, stepped forward. "If you want to do something, consider an alliance. What happened here proved that different species working together are stronger than anyone alone." The council members looked at each other. The idea of partnering with Deathworlders would have seemed impossible just days ago. But they had seen these humans risk their lives to save people they had never met, using their fearsome abilities to protect rather than harm. "An alliance," Elder Dawn repeated thoughtfully. "Yes, your strength combined with our knowledge. Your resilience with our technology." She turned to the other council members. "The very traits we once feared in humans are what saved us. Perhaps it's time we learn to see strength differently." Tom, who had worked so hard to save the colonists, smiled. "On Earth, we have a saying: judge people by their actions, not their appearances. We may look scary to you, but we're explorers and helpers at heart." The council chamber erupted in discussion, but it was clear which way the vote would go. The Bright Stars had learned that true strength came in many forms. The humans' powerful bodies and predatory instincts, evolved on their deadly homeworld, had become tools for protection and peace. "We propose more than just an alliance," Elder Dawn announced. "We wish to build a joint research station here on Moon 6. Humans can work safely in conditions that challenge us, while we can provide insights into crystal technology that your species has never encountered." Mike, who had helped rebuild the facility's defenses, nodded approvingly. "Sharing knowledge makes everyone stronger. We'd be honored to work with you." The formal ceremony that followed was brief. Humans had little patience for long ceremonies, another trait from their fast-paced world. But its meaning was profound. 2 species, one from a gentle garden world and one from a deadly planet, had found strength in their differences. As Captain Jack signed the alliance agreement, he noticed something remarkable. The Bright Stars no longer flinched when he moved suddenly. Their fear of Deathworlders had been replaced by understanding. "Remember this day," Elder Dawn said to the assembled crowd. "Remember when we learned that those we feared could become our greatest allies, that the very traits we thought made humans dangerous, their strength, their endurance, their predatory past, were the exact traits needed to save us." Jack looked out at the gathered Bright Stars, their crystalline forms catching the light. "And remember that strength isn't just about physical power. It's about how you use whatever abilities you have to help others." As the humans prepared to leave, they knew this was just the beginning. Other peaceful species would learn what the Bright Stars had discovered: that sometimes the best protectors are those who evolved on worlds that tried to kill them. The Deathworlders had come not to conquer, but to help, and that made all the difference.